He chose luxury over loyalty, threw away the woman who loved him for 7 years, embarrassed her in front of another woman on Valentine's Day. But before the month ended, everything he built began to collapse. And by the time he realized his mistake, she was already untouchable. What would you do if the man you stood by for 7 years threw you out on Valentine's Day for another woman, and months later, he lost everything and came back begging? Find out what happens in this epic tale of Ada and Obinna. Long before the bright lights of Lekki and the polished glass doors of success, Obinna was just a struggling young man with stubborn dreams and empty pockets. He met Ada on a humid afternoon at a crowded bus stop in Saulier. She was balancing a stack of nursing textbooks while trying to shield herself from the sun with a small umbrella. Obinna had been standing beside her, rehearsing business ideas in his head, when a sudden gust of wind blew her notes across the dusty road. Without thinking, he ran after them, dodging impatient Okodas and honking Danfos. By the time he gathered the last paper, he was sweating and slightly breathless. Ada laughed when he handed them back. "You risked your life for my notes," she teased. "Maybe they'll be worth something one day," he replied shyly. That was how it started. Their relationship grew slowly, naturally, like a tree watered by patience. Obinna had no stable job then. He sold phone accessories under Oshodi Bridge, standing for long hours under the scorching sun while shouting prices over loud traffic. Ada believed in him when no one else did. After her nursing classes, she would stop by his stall, bringing homemade jollof rice wrapped carefully in foil. She listened to his endless business plans, ideas about building a technology company that would help small Nigerian businesses go digital. Most people would have laughed. Ada never did. "You will make it," she would always say firmly. "I see it." Years passed, and their love endured the tests of poverty and uncertainty. Ada paid parts of Obinna's online programming courses using money she saved from night shifts. She prayed for him every morning before leaving for school. She defended him whenever her friends mocked her for dating a man with too many dreams and no results. Obinna loved her deeply, or at least he believed he did. When his first mobile application finally gained attention, Ada was the first person he called. When investors began showing interest, she helped him prepare presentations, correcting grammar and rehearsing speeches with him late into the night. They celebrated small victories together: suya dinners, long walks along Bar Beach, cheap movie nights where they shared popcorn and laughter. 7 years passed like this. Then the breakthrough came. Obinna's tech platform exploded in popularity after a major company partnered with him. Investors flooded in. Within months, he moved from his cramped one-room apartment into a luxurious Lekki flat with white marble floors and wide windows overlooking the lagoon. Everything changed. At first, Ada believed it was temporary. Obinna became busier, attending high-class meetings and networking events. His calls became shorter. His messages became delayed. But she kept supporting him, telling herself success demanded sacrifice. What Ada did not notice was how success slowly changed the way Obinna looked at her, not with love anymore, but with quiet embarrassment he could not admit. And somewhere inside the glittering world he had entered, another woman was waiting. Amaka entered Obinna's life like a carefully scripted dream. He met her at a corporate gala held in Victoria Island. She was tall, elegant, and confident, dressed in a shimmering gold gown that captured every eye in the room. Amaka spoke with polished English, laughed gracefully, and carried herself with the effortless charm of someone raised in wealth. She was the daughter of a powerful business tycoon. When they were introduced, Amaka immediately recognized Obinna as the tech genius everyone was talking about. Her admiration fed his ego in ways he didn't realize he craved. Unlike Ada, who knew him from his lowest moments, Amaka only saw his polished success. She admired the car, the apartment, the influence, the rising fame. Their friendship began professionally. She offered to introduce him to investors through her father's connections. Soon, meetings turned into lunches. Lunches turned into late-night conversations filled with champagne and soft jazz music. Obinna began to feel different around her, important, refined, elevated. Meanwhile, Ada noticed changes she could not explain. Obinna stopped answering her calls during evenings. He cancelled their weekly dinner dates, blaming business stress. When she visited his apartment unannounced once, she found unfamiliar perfume lingering in the air. "Are you okay?" Ada asked one evening, her voice heavy with worry. "I'm just busy, Ada," he replied coldly. "Success is not easy." She nodded, swallowing her doubts. What hurt Ada the most was not the distance. It was the unfamiliar pride growing in Obinna's voice. The humility she once loved was fading, replaced by arrogance disguised as confidence. Then Valentine's Day approached. Ada planned something special. She saved part of her salary to bake his favorite vanilla cake herself. She bought a red dress, simple but elegant, because Obinna once told her red made her glow like a sunset. She wrote him a heartfelt letter thanking him for 7 years of love and struggle. She believed they were about to enter a new, beautiful phase of life together. While Ada prepared her surprise, Obinna was making a decision that would change everything. Amaka had invited him to a luxury Valentine's dinner, hinting at powerful business partnerships and social opportunities. Obinna began to convince himself Ada no longer fit into his new world. And sometimes, betrayal doesn't begin with cruelty. It begins with quiet, selfish thoughts. The evening air carried the gentle scent of rain as Ada stood outside Obinna's apartment building, clutching the cake box carefully. Her red dress flowed softly around her legs as she adjusted her hair nervously. Her heart pounded with excitement. She imagined his surprise, his smile, maybe even a proposal. She knocked. When the door opened, her world shattered instantly. Inside stood Amaka, flawless, radiant, and unmistakably comfortable in a place Ada once called home. Behind her, candles lit the living room. Rose petals decorated the marble floor. Expensive wine glasses sparkled under dim lighting. And Obinna stood beside her. Ada's fingers tightened around the cake box as silence filled the room. "Obinna," she whispered. He sighed, running a hand across his forehead like someone forced into an uncomfortable responsibility. "Ada, you weren't supposed to come tonight." The words pierced deeper than any insult. "I wanted to surprise you," she said weakly, lifting the cake slightly. Amaka studied Ada with subtle curiosity, then stepped aside as if observing a minor inconvenience. Obinna cleared his throat. "Ada, this relationship isn't working anymore." The sentence echoed like thunder in her ears. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I've changed. My life has changed. I need someone who fits into where I'm going." Ada stared at him, searching for the man she loved inside his unfamiliar eyes. 7 years, Obinna," she whispered. 7 years, and you're saying this today?" He avoided her gaze. "I've outgrown this relationship." The cake slipped from her hands, crashing softly onto the floor, icing splattering across white tiles like broken promises. Ada swallowed the scream building in her throat. Tears filled her eyes, but she refused to cry in front of them. She straightened her shoulders slowly. "I hope she loves you the way I did," she said quietly. Then she walked away. Outside, rain poured heavily, soaking her red dress until it clung to her skin. She walked blindly through flooded streets, heartbreak weighing heavier than the storm. Behind her, Obinna watched silently from the window, ignoring the small voice inside him whispering that he had just destroyed something priceless. For a few weeks, Obinna believed he had made the right decision. Amaka introduced him to wealthy investors. His social status rose quickly. His business expanded aggressively. But success built on unstable foundations rarely lasts. Unknown to Obinna, Amaka had been manipulating his company's financial structure. Using her access, she redirected funds into secret offshore accounts. She convinced him to sign documents he barely reviewed, promising faster growth and international expansion. By the time auditors noticed irregularities, it was too late. News broke across Nigerian media. Obinna's company was under investigation for fraud and embezzlement. Investors withdrew funding immediately. Partners cut ties. His accounts were frozen overnight. When Obinna rushed to Amaka for help, her apartment was empty. Her phone number was disconnected. She had vanished with millions. Within weeks, Obinna lost everything: his company, his apartment, his reputation. Social media mocked him mercilessly. Former friends avoided him. Business allies denied knowing him. For the first time in years, Obinna found himself alone. Completely alone. And in the silence of his disgrace, memories of Ada began to return: her laughter at the bus stop, her prayers, her unwavering belief when he had nothing. Guilt consumed him like fire. He tried calling her old number. It no longer existed. 3 months later, Obinna sat outside a public hospital, waiting for a job interview as a junior IT assistant. A position far below his former status. He looked thinner, older, defeated. As he stared blankly across the parking lot, a sleek car pulled in. A woman stepped out, dressed in a crisp white medical coat, confidence glowing around her like sunlight after rain. It was Ada. But she was different. Stronger. Radiant. Whole. Dr. Ada Okafor. Obinna stood slowly, disbelief flooding his face. Ada. She turned, recognizing him instantly. Surprise flickered across her expression, followed by calm composure. "I heard what happened," she said gently. Shame burned through him. "I was a fool," he whispered. "I lost everything." Ada nodded thoughtfully. "I didn't," she replied. She explained how, after the heartbreak, she poured herself into her medical career. She completed specialized training, earned scholarships, and became one of the youngest respected doctors in her department. Pain had transformed her. It had not destroyed her. "I never stopped loving you," Obinna admitted, tears filling his eyes. "Can we start again?" Ada smiled, soft, kind, but distant. "Obinna, I loved you when you had nothing. But you only loved me when I made your struggle easier." Her words were not angry. They were honest. "I outgrew you too," she said quietly. Then she turned and walked back toward the hospital doors, toward her future, her dignity, her peace. Obinna watched her disappear, finally understanding the true cost of betrayal. Some love stories end not with revenge, but with growth. And sometimes, losing the right person is the punishment life gives for forgetting their worth.
Bye guys, thanks for watching and staying with us to the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. See you next time!